Question 2 is the summary question. And I cannot say it loud enough, often enough. Please, you need to get these marks. The summary question is there to help you. They want you to get 10 out of 10. They're not trying to trick you or take the marks away or make it challenging. You are meant to get the marks. So take your time on this question. It should not be that difficult. If you are battling, and yes, there are students who battle, then do the last 6, 7, 8 years of summaries. And by the time you've done that many, and remember there'll be 2 papers per year, and then a few years ago there were 3 papers per year. You'll have done so many summaries, you will have a better idea about what you are doing. Let's have a look at the instructions. So it tells you it's section B, tells you the summary, tells you question 2. It now tells you, got a little introduction. So this one, holiday job, several benefits. Important to know what to consider when looking. So, are we listing the benefits of the holiday job? No. Read the instruction. They've begun with the benefits, but look what's there in bold. That's what we've got to do. So it's 7 tips, and that's what they want. Then read the instructions. How do they want you to present this? Some of my students seem to believe that point form has to be bulleted. No, 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 no. What was I saying around the comprehension about full sentences? No more than. Gosh, they're going to be strict about this. But you can't get to 70 words by using contractions. You must write words out in full. Now, this is the real kicker. Because sometimes the candidates are not sure. Is this 1 point or can I split it into 2? Try to find 7 very obviously different points. If you're in any doubt, sometimes you're going to, I don't know, let's say point number 3 and you think, I think this is 1 point, and in fact the examiners had thought it was 2, or you make it 3 and 4 and they'd actually felt it was 1 point. This is the difficulty. You know that in home language, when you've got it as a paragraph, they will give you credit wherever you've put it. First additional language is very strict. I keep saying this. Unfairly, in my opinion, but that's what happens here. Now this, I want to give you lots of words of warning about. So I'm coming back to that in a second. The total number of words you've used in brackets at the end of your summary. Now, don't write 70 if it is in fact 79. Don't lie. Somebody is going to count the number of words. If you've written 79, they'll count the last 9 words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They will then cross out the last 9 words. So 70 or 68, 69. Can you sometimes do it in 30? Yes, but then you've probably left something out because the examiner has done it and thinks that you need 70 words. Now, can we come to the issue of your own words as far as possible? You know how the summary is marked. So let's just get some place to write. So the examiner decides on what are the 7 points. And the examiner numbers them. And sometimes there are 9 points, so all the way down to 9. These are the points, and the examiner tells the marker, these are the quotes from the passage. Then the examiner puts these points into the examiner's own words and says, obviously, accept variations, because you cannot predict that the candidate will use exactly the same words as the examiner has used. So there are the 9 points, however many points the examiner found. If you use your own words so much that the marker who's looking for these points, 8, 9, can't recognize, they look at what you've written, gosh, is this point number 1? Is this point number 4? If they can't recognize your points, and remember, don't set it out like this. If you want to, in your planning, to set it out like this, by all means. But when you do it, you've got to write it 1 point, 2 point, 3 point. There is no reason for you to go beyond 7. If you go to 8 or 9 yourself, the marker will simply ignore it. Just ignores it. Puts it, I don't know, exceeds number of questions required or something. It'll just cross it out. So you can only go up to 7. Again, different from home language, where if there are 9 points, you could actually get all 9. So what happens here is the marker's got your points here and has got that grid that I've just shown you sitting over here, and has to attach your point to something in the grid. So if they recognize it, okay, that's point number 3. They give it a tick and they write 3. This is point number 1, this was point number 2. So it doesn't matter what order you've got it in, as long as the marker can recognize the point from the quotes that are here, then you're okay. But if you answer it in such a way in your own words, I don't know, no, then they're going to mark it wrong. If they've decided that point number 3 is 1 point and you've decided that it was 2 points, they will write 3R repeated and there will be no tick. Right, so how's it marked? They count the number of ticks, 3. Then they give you a language mark. But it is not for your spelling, your punctuation, and your grammar. You have to write your own sentences. So it must be in sentences, because I'm marking you on the fact that you've said you did it in 69 words, but you can't do it in 69 words if they are fragments, if they're just bits of sentences. You have to write sentences. And I really want to stress that, because more and more my students are writing their answers in fragments. And I'm getting more and more frustrated, because you can't just give me a little part of a sentence. I have to have a sentence. Okay, so, right, so we've got this. Now, let's say there are no quotes. They're then going to give you a mark for what they do if there are no quotes. If you have quoted all 7 points, then you're going to get 0 for the language. So the language mark is not on spelling, punctuation, and grammar. Yes, you've got to write sentences, but it's on whether you have lifted, whether you've just quoted from the passage. So if they say, in the end, I don't know, a holiday job is difficult to get or something. Let's say that's the point. And you say, finally, it is difficult to get a holiday job. They will say you've used your own words. What I'm saying to you is, don't go to that instruction. And this is for those of you who are really strong candidates. I'm saying, don't go to this instruction and say, I really, really must use my own words. Because then a good candidate will get like 4 plus 2 and get 6 out of 10. Because if you get 4 points right, you get 2 language marks if you haven't quoted. But a weak candidate who's lifted every single point will get 7 out of 10. Right, so this is my advice. Especially now I'm talking to strong candidates, right? Don't use your own words to such an extent that the marker can't figure out which point it is. It must be recognizable. So make little changes. Turn the word order around. If it's a noun, make it a verb or an adjective. Make small changes so the marker's absolutely sure, that's point number 7, that's point number 8, not a problem. And then you will get your 7 plus 3 and you'll get 10 out of 10. Now, what if you really, really struggle with English? What if you see yourself as a weak candidate? This is where they want you to get 7 marks, promise. So just go through the passage really carefully. What am I looking for? And mark it on the passage. Pick up a pen or a highlight or something, mark it on the passage. Find your 7 points. And then quote it, just lift it, take it straight out. Make sure that you don't go over the number of words, not over 70, and you'll get 7 plus 0. You will still get 70% on this question. So everybody needs to aim at a minimum of 70% on this question, whether you are a weak candidate, a middle candidate, a strong candidate. Nobody gets less than 70%. That's what you're aiming for. All right. Now, what I've noticed recently is that there will be something like, let's say, the benefits of sleep. Or no, let's talk about getting ready for sleep. And the passage will say, have a very calming routine before you go to sleep. And then it will give you examples of a calming routine. Play yourself soothing music. Breathe deeply. Turn the lights down low or turn them off. Don't be on your phone because that gets you all hyped up. What happens with my students is because on social media especially, you see these tips as all separate points. And so what I'm starting to see is because of the way you experience this kind of tips, advice kind of stuff, you tend to put it all down as separate points. Whereas for the examiner, it's make sure you establish a calming routine before you go to sleep. So be careful. That's what I've started to notice. And my youngest son tells me it's because of the influence of social media. So I trust him. He's got to be right. He says that's what you will see on social media. So just be careful. We're looking for the overall idea of a calming time before you go to sleep. Take out the examples of the calming time. All right, are you with me? And you should all do well. So this one, if we go back to this one, was how to get a holiday job. So if you look at it, let's see if we can do it quite swiftly. Many types of holiday jobs. Think carefully about the job you want. Try applying for a job at a sports store. So maybe you think how to get a holiday job. The first thing is think about the holiday job so it's something that you would enjoy, something that you like. I wouldn't put in the example like sport. I wouldn't put that in, but think carefully about getting a job that you would like. Okay. Then it says, look at the second paragraph. Remember our topic is how to get a holiday job. Is there a point in the second paragraph? Read the third paragraph. And the third point is there. Look at the next paragraph. Now here's a good example of, is this one point or is it 2 points? So read the paragraph again. The first thing you've got is word of mouth. And then you've got let everybody know. Is that the same thing? Yes, it is. So be careful. This is an example where either you want the word of mouth, or you want is tell your friends and family and people living near you. So it's really the same point. Right, then let's look at the next paragraph. Now, is this 1 point or 2 points? So we said here, word of mouth is when you tell people and they tell other people. So you say to your mum, you're going out for dinner, please tell the people that you're having dinner with that I'm looking for a holiday job. That's word of mouth. So this is the same thing. Let your friends and family and neighbors know. It's the same point. But look at this one. We've got the idea of the CV. So have it ready. That's 0.5. But the second thing is don't lie. That's 0.6. So do you see these points here were the same point repeated? So if you made this point number 5, you are going to get 4R, 4 repeated. You're not going to be given credit for it. Whereas with this paragraph, there are 2 things here. Make sure that your CV is always ready. So anybody asks you for it, you're not going, oh, I haven't got it and I've got to draw it up, or I drew it up last year but I haven't updated it. No. Then the next point is be authentic, be truthful. Don't lie. Don't say that you are better qualified than you are. So that's 2 separate points. Do you see what I mean about how you need to stop and think? Is this one idea or is this 2 ideas? Right. Next paragraph. Right, so what we've got is a paragraph about the interview, right? So the first point is stay calm. Okay, so that you can think clearly, super dupes. And then, is the second point a repetition of 0.7, or is it a different point? See, I think it's a different point because this one is about staying calm and this is about body language. So you've got to stop and think. And then the last point is, look at the last paragraph. And that is persevere. All right, so do that on your question paper. And then I just want to talk about the steps that our subject advisor recommends for the summary. So this comes from our subject advisor, and she says, follow these steps. 1. And this one is kind of the really tricky one. She says, find the main ideas. And I know that sounds really easy, but actually it is difficult. So how have the examiners helped you? They've given you the focus, because the difficulty in finding the main ideas is when you aren't given a focus, but they tell you you're looking for how to get a holiday job, or ways to make sure that you sleep better, or whatever it is. So that focus, if you keep reminding yourself of what am I looking for, what am I looking for, what am I looking for, you will find the main ideas. Now, either underline them or number them on your question paper. The second step is get rid of any examples. So I said, for example, don't use that sport one. Or make sure that you're not marking anything that does not relate to that focus. We often find that the first paragraph is like an introduction, and students give that, but actually it's got nothing to do with the focus. That wasn't true of the one we've just looked at, but it often is. So a lot of my grade 9s made the first paragraph point 1, but in fact the first point was in paragraph 2. So just look for that. Then make sure that you are writing sentences, and make sure that all of those sentences relate to the focus. Then she comes to the issue of your own words, and she says, try to change one word in the sentence or put in your own word into the sentence. But again, she's looking your own word, one word. And above all, keep the same meaning. That is absolutely critical. If you change the meaning or you add in your own ideas, you are in real trouble. Then you need to write out the whole summary in full. I do recommend that you just work on the question paper up to this point. Now you need to write it out in full, and please make sure that you're numbering it 1, 2, 7. Now you count. This is where you make sure that you've written sentences, that there are no contractions, and you do not exceed the number of words which you were given in the instruction, and you write it there. She then recommends at this point that you edit that version that you wrote in full. Then remember, when you write your final version, you cross out the rough draft. Please don't make the mistake of allowing the marker to mark the draft. And that should give you at least 7 out of 10. And it's very, very important that you get those marks for question 2.